only fine for your very first teaching yourself SQL, and then immediately the very next step after you've got your communication is that if you hadn't already learned, I mean, we've already learned.
Before you get into that, I'm going to stop you there because you would never show that in an interview anyway.
Oh, so yeah.
Key item. Pay attention. Yeah, I said if you show any project that doesn't have it, you're done. But yeah, not saying you can't have a project that doesn't have it, but yeah, if you ever show one, it's over. So never ever, you want to make sure you're never storing it in plain text. Anyway, we're also going to do the registration date. So when this, or the created at, I actually prefer that one. So I'm going to do created be like on or at, because those are the two commons that I see.
On sounds better.
All right. Like I said, I've seen there is actually an argument between the two. Certain systems use created on, certain systems use created at. So that's why I'm saying what people know.
Date oriented, where at seems time oriented. So if it's time sensitive.
I said created on sounds like a date, and it at sounds like time. So that's where the two kind of go back and forth. Because I arrived at 1 o'clock. I'm going to go to your house on January 1st. So yeah, it's one of those, that's why you see the two differences. That's why you see them swapped. At and on are both time related. It's just depending on time and date. And so you get people kind of getting a little like, I don't know which one to use. And really it doesn't matter. As long as you use something that makes sense, it's fine. So that's our users table. That's a good start. Let's also create the profile table and then we'll start putting stuff in the database. Create table, profiles. So again, same thing, plural. I'm going to create the same ID. So I'm actually just going to speed us up a little bit by just copying this myself. Usually when you're doing your own practices, again, you'd want to type this so this becomes second nature typing for you. I'm going to do that now so we can speed through it so Hayden has some time.
Can we ever have a foreign key also be the primary key?
It might be possible. I can't think of a when or why, but
wouldn't this be exactly when a profile goes to one user?
I wouldn't want that though. Just again, that way, if I wanted to, I could start the profiles at a different number and there wouldn't be any parallel. And again, in the longer run, I'd probably want to use UUIDs in both of these. So again, there's no hardwire connection. So if this ID number, this identifier for the profiles is being used on the website, that number is not the same number as the user item. I actually would not want them matching.
That's a fair point. Yeah. This way you can refer to the profile by ID number without exposing the user.
Yep. The main reason why you separate user and profile is, again, we want the password hidden away from the public data. We don't want this anywhere connected, so you never accidentally send it over. Yeah. One of those big key items. So anyway, we got that. Next thing we want to do is actually make the reference. Hayden's back. Nice. I'll call him drop for a second there.
Oh, and Thomas is back.
Yep, Thomas came back in. He just snuck back in and sat down. He never left the actual call. So, but I watched him sit down. I was like, "Oh, good. He didn't miss much." So, next item, profile ID. We're actually going to not that. We're going to connect this to the user. So, user ID. So this is where it's a little different from our Mongo. We would usually just.
So now we've switched from created on with an underscore to okay. Sorry.
Yep. Thank you. We got to stay. I need to get through this. So. I'm trying to give enough time for Hayden to do his lesson. SQL tends to use, and just what you were going to say with the underscore, SQL tends to use that for their timestamps. And you're going to see me do this a bit with this stuff because I'm kind of mixed between Pascal and Camel Case. I use Camel Case a lot for the fields, and I use these items for pieces that I've seen in other items. Yeah, I personally probably would do this on my own item, but I'm trying to do the items that I see in SQL the way they're commonly there. So I do see people doing Camel Case and Pascal Case intermittently, depending on
Pascal Case is how you name a class in JavaScript. I'm not sure what you underscores is I guess what you call this.
Another term is snake case. Anyway.
Snake case.
Yeah, it just connects it like a snake. Yeah, well, it's all connected together. Anyway, not important. So we have the user ID. This is different from Mongo, as I was trying to say, is because in Mongo, we would just say the word user here because we have the ability in Mongo to populate that field and replace the ID with the actual record. In SQL, we can't do that. We can link the two, but then we're going to actually bring those fields in and actually make them part of the same row. So we're going to call this user ID. And then we were very clear knowing that this is the number that's representing the connection. We're going to make sure that this data type matches the data type we're trying to connect to, the item we're referencing. So I can just take a look at this and take everything right here. I'm going to take the same data that we use there and bring that in. I also want to make sure that this is a one-to-one, a one-to-one connection, one-to-one relationship. For every user, there's gonna be one profile. For every profile, they have one user account. And so in this case, I want to make sure that profiles is not null. You can't have a profile without a user account. You can have a user account without a profile. I'm okay with that. But you cannot have a profile without a user. So I'm going to use not null here. And I did bad with the capitalization.
Is there a unique keyword or something we want to throw on this row, or?
Yes. I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
Stay with me, Scott. It takes time to get to pieces.
Sorry.
So not null. We're going to, yes, we are going to make this unique. And that's what the keyword is, called unique. And then we also got to actually connect it to the other table. We have to tell it that it references another table. And that's the word we're going to use. References. And so this is how you make a foreign key. This is the term. Another way that I will say, another way to do this is at the end, on another line, you can actually have a foreign key statement and then say the key number and then tell it where it's connected to. It's another syntax. I actually don't like that version of it. I prefer this variation of it. So if you want to see the way you do it by actually typing out the term foreign key, you can look that up online. We're going to be using the references version here where you're creating the foreign key on the same line you're creating the record. So references, what you need to do now is tell it the collection name or the table name, so users. And then this is where I actually get a little annoyed with the syntax. In select statements, you usually use a dot here to then represent the field. You would usually represent the column via a dot notation. But in the references system, for some reason, it's almost like a function. And you have to give it the column in parentheses. This is one moment you might get things mixed up. In your select statements and your int and stuff like that, you're going to reference the columns of a table with dot notation. In the references key system, though, you're going to use it with parentheses. I guess we call this block notation or bracket notation. I don't know. But you're going to use it in function notation, I guess. We'll call it. I actually don't know what that notation's called.
Parenthetical?
Maybe. That would be one word you could use. But next thing, let's say for our profiles, we're going to keep it fairly simple. We'll do first name. There we go. And this is where I'm having my notes don't have that as camel case, so I'm going to put a camel case. Anyway, we got first name. And this one, we know that people can have kind of varying sizes of names. We really don't want to limit the name because then we're kind of be cutting people's names off. For example, my wife showing me that Dominican culture, very commonly, almost everyone does hyphenations for their names. All females do this. It's a very common thing for them. So my wife's last name had 2 long names, and now she had 1 long, 1 short name. Now she has 2 long names. Shonya Almanzar now. So fun. So I realize limiting the names is going to be very unfair to certain people. So for this, we'll actually use text, and that's what the main difference between text is varchar is that text is a system that will dynamically adjust for the longest string you have in that column. It allows for dynamic size constraints. It doesn't limit it to a certain character size. There are probably other costs that I haven't dug too deep into because I haven't really worried too much about it, since nowadays part of the reason why they added this now dynamic system is because data is becoming cheaper and cheaper. Mm-hmm. So they're able to do this stuff. When SQL first came out, data was not as abundant as it was back then. We actually had to be very careful with how many bytes each record was taken up. There was actually situations in my company that I worked for for tech support a while back. We had to kind of deal with, hey, this database is the database on this system is getting full. We need to increase the database for this client. So those are things we had to deal with sometimes. Nowadays, not so much of an issue. So we can do text, and again, here we can put the not null if we want. We say, nope, you have to give us a name. You can't be nameless. Also do last name the same way. We're going to do another created on. All right. So we have our 2 tables. Let's add some records so we can get to the more importance of the joins. I want to get to the joins.
Do we need a semicolon after that parenthesis?
Yes, you do. Thank you. I did make a mistake on that during my practice session earlier. I'm like, why am I getting all these error messages? One semicolon's missing. God damn it. Anyway, so we got that. Let's do a couple inserts now. So for the insert, we're going to do insert. We got to tell it where we want to do insert into. going to tell it what database, what collection we want to insert into. So in this case, we're first going to start with users because we can't do a profile without a user. So we've got to do users first. I'm going to tell it what fields we're going to be providing and what order those fields are coming in. So we got to tell it the fields that we're providing and what order those are going to come in. So we're going to say, you know what, I'm going to give it the email address, and I'm going to give it the password, and then I'm going to also clarify the created on, even though the created on will be programmatic. You'll see that in a second. And then again, this is me just keeping the lines short. So I'm going to do another line and tabbing. This is something you can also do in SQL, just like you do in Java and JavaScript. White space is kind of for you. It's something you can play with to help you read things. We'll then do values. And this is where we're going to actually enter the values. I'm going to make sure that the values match the order that we displayed in that parenthesis above. So here I'll do with test.com. I'll do a password of tester. For the moment, yes. So just a heads up, Scott, we are technically going to be storing the passwords in there because I don't have an encryptor.
Yeah, but I mean, at this stage, that's fine.
Exactly. I don't have an encryptor, but normally, yes, you would hash it. And then we're going to do, for the timestamp, I could try entering time, but I'm just going to use the built-in system current _ timestamp. And that's Command S. I don't want to do that. Good habit, by the way, having that, but yeah. This will let us enter a record. So if we quickly switch this from MySQL test A to just users, we can see that we have a single record in there. Nice. Let's add a couple more. Let's go ahead and change this one to, who wants to be in? Bring Gabe in, because he's here. By the way, say hi to Gabe. He's one of the nighttime students / also taught. Margie and Neil know him. Gabe kind of helped us teach cohort 11. He actually did teach, actually, now that I think about it. He did teach cohort 11, not helped. He did teach. And now he's also learning SQL himself and Java as well. So he's now joining in to learn some SQL today, since the nighttime group hasn't gotten to SQL yet. So we got that. Let's go ahead and switch to Gabe. So you can say hi to Gabe. And then we have, who else do we want?
When I go to test, it says select database from drop-down menu, and I don't know where that drop-down menu is.
I don't know if you missed that. I thought I pointed it out.
I see it now. No, yeah. I remember you saying it, and I was just like, couldn't find it. So
all right.
And of course, it cleared out what I had earlier.
I was about to warn you, don't click yet. I didn't say it fast enough. My bad.
It's okay. Practice is good.
It's a good way to approach it. So who's my second user?
Fine. I'll just do it again.
No one wants to volunteer to be part of my blog post?
You can do me.
All right.
Because I'm going to ask you a question in a minute.
There we go. That's the cost. That works. So you got 3 users now. Let's hit this button again. So again, what this site does is that every time you hit the button, it runs this first to build the database and construct the database each time. And then it will run your query against that constructed database. That's why we're putting the inserts over here. In your actual system if you're ever actually using one of the SQL admin systems, you could actually, all of these are queries that you can run on the SQL query system, but these are the things you want to run once. If you run this one a second time, it's going to yell at you. So you say, hey, this table already exists. So
if exists, drop table.
Yep. Yeah, that's more advanced stuff. No need to worry about that. But usually what you would do with this thing right here with these create tables, you'd have that in a SQL file that you would then have the system run on the server. You would actually have this sent over to the server. I might try to remember how to do that on I'm trying to think if I can find another hosted MySQL system. There used to be one, but I can't remember if they still have it. But I'll see if I can find one so I can show what that looks like, where you can send a file into your SQL database. But yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
So I was going to ask you about the execute SQL button, but now I saw that, and then I'm getting a drop-down thing. What's the solution to that?
Are you the select database thing?
I execute SQL and I get select database from drop-down menu.
Upper right-hand corner where mine says MySQL, it originally says select database in the upper right-hand corner.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Copy the code over first.
Copy the code. Yes, don't click it yet. Copy the code. You'll lose it otherwise.
I almost did it.
All right. Gabe already suffered that.
Do what now?
It's happened to me too.
Copy the code first, because as soon as you switch the database, it's going to clear that table out.
All right.
So everything you typed, copy it first.
All right.
So
using my SQL 5.1, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You click it, it'll clear it, so then you can paste everything back in.
All right.
Oh, two of you guys had to deal with that issue. I dealt with that myself. Don't worry. I actually started building my own first test project. My test, again, I always practice these lessons myself. Very first time I tried to practice it, I'm like, why won't it run? This is perfectly fine SQL script. And then, yeah, I switched to, I'm like, oh, there it is. I couldn't even find it, and I didn't have myself to find it. Because, yeah, I'm like, I don't see this anywhere here or here. I expected it to be over here next to the SQL script. I had no idea it was in the upper right-hand corner. Eventually found it. I'm like, oh, cool, let me click that. And then everything was going like, you suck. I had to retype it all. I'm like, I don't even know if my code was good. So,
well, I mean, I guess you could do it in an IDE first, and
I didn't know it would do that though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I was typing in. I'm typing simple SQL stuff, so it's not like I'm typing anything complicated. So anyway, you can see that if I run my code, I have the 3 users now. Hopefully, everyone's kind of keeping up.
Wait, where's the run code?
So if you scroll down, because unfortunately we have this giant add at the top, so do be aware of that. So you got to scroll down, and you'll eventually get the execute SQL blue button right across the bottom.
Oh, that. I see it. Oh, snap. Oh, I see, because I have the select over here that's calling the wrong database.
Oh, primary key is 2 words. Okay, I was getting an error.
Yep. And that's something that, again, like kind of get a little annoyed with SQL. There's certain items that are single words, certain items that are double. Like you have auto increment as a 1-word underscored, yet primary key and not null are not underscored, even though they're kind of together and they're kind of a similar item. But that's because you can have foreign key and you can say it is null. So there's that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, current timestamp is an underscored item. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. And I will say this is one of the items that SQL is one of the items that I constantly have to sometimes go to Google and be like, all right, current timestamp, that underscored or not? Like I'll know that like this current timestamp, but I'll have to double check. Is this one of the underscored items or not? So this is one of the languages that you have to do that a couple times. Because, yeah, there's this, I don't see the pattern between why some things have underscores and when things don't. So those things, you'll get used to it eventually, but just be aware that, that is something you have to be aware of. One of the other issues I ran into this morning when I was practicing again is that I accidentally put a couple underscores between my not null, and that was annoying because that was something that was not easy to see. So, so we got those. We have our users. Let's add some profiles now. So insert into profiles. We're going to go ahead and provide the user ID. We're going to go ahead and provide the first name, last name, and again, the created on. Values. Now, in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and I know the numbers of those that we did. We talked about this on yesterday with Scott's thing. We know that the first item of a auto increment is what number? What number did auto increment start on? Do you remember?
1.
Yep, 1. Remember yesterday we talked about that. It starts on 1. So as a profile 1, user ID 1. Go ahead and get that to mine. That's mine. So Cliff, Junior, and we'll do current timestamp. I do that all the time. So that is one of those habits you should definitely have, that auto command S or control S habit. That's a good command. It's a good habit to have, except yeah, it gets a little annoying
when you're in your browser.
On websites. Yep. They just fix this, by the way.
Trips me up all the time in Google Docs. Like time to say, oh right, it's Google Doc.
Also, just a reminder for comments. This is gonna be something you're gonna do fairly often. This is not a comment anymore for SQL. What is a comment for SQL?
Dashes.
Is it pound key too?
Comment. Same. You get the same shortcut key. The command / will still do it. So.
Oh, neat.
But yeah, it's the double dash instead of the double /.
You mean command / right?
Oh yeah, /. Sorry. Yep.
Wait, isn't the pound key also an accepted key for comments?
Looks like it is. Nice. I knew the double dash. That's the one I knew about. Because to be honest, when I first got back into SQL, I couldn't remember what the comment system is. So I tried that shortcut, the command / and it worked. I'm like, oh, cool, that's the comment feature. Nice. So go figure. But again, we know that multiple languages do tend to have multiple ways of doing comments. We know that JavaScript and Java, I think both of them allow the /* as well. So anyway, so I just wanted to show that though, comments. That's a good thing to know. Anyway, insert into profiles. So we'll put here profiles now. There we go. I know that we're working on profiles at this area. So again, let's copy this and do two more. Second one will be the number 2. This is going to be Gabe's. And your last name again, Gabe?
German.
What is it? German, right. Once you started talking, your name popped up on the video thing. And then
Oh, yeah.
we got number 3. Over here, we're going to do Tom. What's your last name again, Tom?
Hodgkinson, Hodgkinson.
Yep. There we go. So we got those. Let's go ahead and switch this now from users to profiles. And click execute. We'll see we now have these. Nice. Let's do our first join, a very simple join that doesn't really, you won't really see any of the benefits of the different types of joins. This a one-to-one, the join doesn't really do much except just combine the data. So if I do a select star from profiles, join.
We can't see that side.
Oh, you can't? What?
Oh, no, sorry. I moved my window over it because I don't have 2 monitors, so I can't.
Gotcha. I have to type it over here, though. So you have to switch over. So select star from profiles, join. And this is going to, when you just hit the word join, that defaults to inner join, just so you know. So join by itself is the inner join. You don't actually have to type the word inner. Join on its own is inner join. So join users on, and this is where we then say, how do we join them? What is the way we're joining them? And this is where the foreign and primary keys become important. We're going to say profiles dot user ID equals users dot ID. Let's hit execute. I'm going to keep that then the screen you can see. And now you can see we combine the 2 tables. We have our ID here, but we also have ID here as well. So this side is going to be our user data on the right. And on the left, this is the profile data. And that's where left and right comes into play. The first one you give is your left, the left side of the join. The right one is your right join. So if we do now left join, this one, unfortunately, is not going to do any difference because we're going to still include the data because we have all these. We're going to add our posts table now, and this is where we're going to be able to see the difference between a left and right post, a left and right join, or at least the difference between a left join and an inner join. So let's create that quick. Back up here to the create tables. We're going to add a new table. Let's do create table posts. We keep this very, very simple, just ID. We're going to go ahead and copy this again, actually. Let's just do that. Copy, paste. We're going to actually connect it. We are going to connect it as a one-to-many with profiles. So the post can have only one profile being the poster. However, a profile can have as many comment posts as they want. They can post as many times as they want. So this is your one-to-many correlation. So now I'm going to have a post ID. Again, I'm going to do the it syncs on the side. I'm just going to grab this here and just, I want to speed up a little bit. Do that. I'm going to switch this to profiles ID now.
Cliff.
I'm going to get rid of the unique. Go ahead, Hayden.
I don't mind doing it tomorrow if you want to slow down and get into this a little bit more.
Tomorrow's Wednesday and Thursday's Thanksgiving.
Thursday. Oh, all right, never mind.
It's fine. We might just move it to Monday. If people are enjoying this, we might just switch to them. Have you go Monday. That way, no one's learning Hibernate right before the weekend, and then we had to kind of relearn Hibernate after the long weekend. So we might still do that.
I'll be honest. I definitely needed a lot of the SQL help. Most of the projects that I worked on all had Hibernate, so I didn't really get an SQL that much, except for one project.
Yeah, we'll spend a little extra time on this. Let's do that. I'm okay with that. And we can do Hibernate on Monday then if we have to. Cool. Let's keep going then. So we got post ID. We're going to reference that to profiles because then I'm able to do the many-to-many connection. And that one's a fun one. Anyway. So we got our post ID int 6 unsigned. So now that we have our post connected to our profiles, again, this is your, by removing the unique key on this, we notice how I don't have the unique key here. That's what makes it a one-to-many now, because that means I can now have multiple posts with the same post ID. Not post ID, profile ID.
They were both unique. It would be one-to-one.
Right. If it was, well, this one again, this was referring to users. So these right here are one-to-one because I can only, each profile can only connect to one user. Now, yeah, that's it. I can't, and since users don't connect to profiles directly, there's not a two-way connection. That means that users technically have one profile because only the users can connect to the user. Sorry, only the profiles can connect to the user, and the profiles can only claim one. If another profile tries to claim the same user, it gets denied. So that's how this one enforces the one-to-one. We could put in we could put in a reference to profiles in the users table. The trick here, though, is that we would have to make sure that users can be null. One of these two would have to be allowed to be null in their reference because the one has to be created before the other gets created, and then you have to update the first one. So that's why you usually, in a one-to-one, you usually don't see, one of the tables doesn't normally connect to the other one because it's not needed in SQL. As long as you have one connected, you can connect them both. Because we could always switch this around and say, you know what, select users, join profiles on users. Sorry, yeah, we can still do the profiles user ID equals user ID. So we can still do that. So we can still do the same connection. So we don't necessarily need to have the reverse. Why did it not include the other one? Did I do something wrong here? Why am I not included? Where'd I go? Wait, what? Oh,
yeah,
this is,
something's mixed
hold on.
up.
Sorry, no, I have a SQL, I have an error. There we go. I had the post, this line here wasn't finished.
That was weird. It was combining Cliff.
Well,
and
it
Gabe.
was not kind of. It was combining these two lines together, so I wasn't getting my user account created. So when this then got created, it was actually adding my data to Gabe's email because I didn't create this record. So Gabe was the #1 user account. So the the #1 profile, my name was going on Gabe, and then Gabe was going on Tom's, and then this one was actually causing a crash because there was no 3. It was, don't worry about it. I just realized that, yeah, there was no semicolon here. So it was trying to run these two lines at the same time and it wasn't allowing it. Anyway, all good there. Yeah, I can still do this. So I don't necessarily, in SQL, you don't necessarily need the 2-directional kind of connection that we kind of sometimes needed in Mongo because we had to be able to reference the other table. So in Mongo, you kind of needed the 2-way connection potentially. And SQL, you don't necessarily need that because you can access both tables at the same time as you see here. We're accessing both tables at the same time, so we don't necessarily need to hardwire the user record to the profile record as long as the profile record is linked back. That's what you're going to see here again. The profile table is going to have no references to the posts, but yet I'll still be able to pull all posts by a specific user. You're going to see that by a specific profile. You're going to see that in a second. But the main thing we can see here, yeah, if you do the unique on the references, that's a 1-to-1. If you don't have the unique, that's a 1-to-many. Especially if the previous table does not reference that table. I'm going to show, now that we're going to take a little more time, I'll be able to show what a many-to-many looks like. And those are a little gross, but they work. But we'll see that in a second. Got our profile ID. Let's go ahead and add in a title. We'll go ahead and do that as text again. Keep that nice and simple. We'll do content as text as well. Simple and straightforward, right? I'm going to leave out the created at this time. It's not needed. We've done that enough. We already know what it is. So you probably would add the created at and probably update it out on post, but we're going to leave that out for the moment.
Is the limit to how big a text could be big enough to hold the whole blog post?
Yep. Again, it will just keep growing it as needed. That could be dangerous. So you might want to set a max limit, but at the same time, you're not. So got to be aware that technically, as long as there's space in the database, if someone tries to put something long enough in it, the system will update to take it. There is no limit on this other than the system itself that I'm aware of. So I'm not aware of any limit on this as of yet. Let's see. Let's see. This is maximum string length of 147,483,647 letters, characters.
That's
So
not
there's the
bad.
limit. 2 to the 31st minus 1 power. So yeah, 2,147,483,647 characters. There you go.
Okay.
I guess there is technically a limit, And then there's the other, but yeah, you have that. So it's not easy to hit. Anyway, there we go. And that, let's go ahead and add in posts. Insert into posts. Again, we're going to enter the fields that we're doing. And now I do want to show this just one time, just so you do see it. Like we said before, this is the user-friendly syntax. We can just type in the fields as needed. We should talk about how potentially you could have some field names that maybe are recognizable as SQL commands. So maybe we had a record called table. That could be a problem because we know that table is SQL syntax. So if you ever want to, and this is something you can do all the time, this is something you can do whenever you want. If this is how you feel, if you feel it looks better, you like the syntax highlighting better, you can do this for all your field names. But field names and actual database names can be surrounded by backticks. And that makes the system know, hey, I'm about to enter a field or column name. I'm not entering a SQL command. It lets the SQL system know that what you're about to see is 100% either field or row information. It is not SQL syntax of any kind. Well, it's kind of SQL syntax, but not a SQL command. So not a SQL verb. Do posts. We can also in here go ahead and add in our profile ID. I'm going to go ahead and do our text title and our content. And the big thing to remember here is that it's backticks, not quotes. They look very much like quotes, and that's a common mistake you can make. Doing insert into post with double with quotes will not work. So do be aware of that and be careful there. We're going to go ahead and add in the profile ID of, I'll make the first post. We'll go ahead and say SQL. My first post will be about SQL syntax. It's not so bad. That'll be the first post we do. Let's copy and do these a couple more times and make a couple other posts. And let's add some space there to make it look nicer. So I'll do another post, and then we'll have one of you do a post. So Gabe and Tom, think of a post. Whichever one has a post ready first, we'll get to put their post in. I'm going to do JavaScript. All right, a lot of JS. Tom or Gabe, who wants to post?
I'll post.
Still
Title,
typing.
hacking the mainframe.
What was the title?
Hacking the mainframe. And I don't know. Beep boop, beep boop. That's my thing. I'm an AI, so.
Beep boop, beep boop. We'll actually put a dash there for the fun of it. All right, so we got that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to comment this line out so I can keep it saved so I can still see it. But let's go ahead and do a select. Why do I do that? From post now, and just see if we get all our posts. So we'll hit the execute. We'll see there's our posts. Not bad, right? And it's nice. We do have our profile ID, so that's useful. We do know who posted, but I don't get any of the data that my front end might need, right? So if I wanted to get this data for the front end, I might want to know the name of the person that posted it, right? Not just their number, but their name, right? I want their data. So I want to be able to pull the name information of the person that actually posted these. So I want to do a join here. In this case, I'm actually going to do select and do ID, or well, I'll do this in a second. So we'll do select star first. I'll do the other items first later. Actually, before I do the join, let's say I just want to pull the posts from me. I just want my posts. Post from profile ID 1. We'll start with that. So select from posts. Do this one commented. We'll do the same thing again. So we have the commented versions. We'll add in the where syntax. And so here we can add in a conditional. We can say where profile ID equals 1. I can also use the term and to include multiple conditions. I can use or, so you have your conditional operators. You have your conditional operators and an or, and they work the same way. And you can add parentheses in order to make sure that they justify the same way. They work the same way. Or only one of the two items have to be true, and they both have to be true. Same systems. And in this case, the only slight difference is your not is actually the word not. So if I wanted to do that, I can actually do not 1. So I do not 1. I think is that if I have to do the equal sign? I may have to do the equal sign still. Hold on. Where did that go before provided? Oh, where does that go again? Hold on. I'm having a brain fart. I didn't actually write this one down.
I think there's 2 ways you can write that. So
Go ahead.
the exclamation point,
That was it. This is
Yeah.
one. And they do have the bang.
say that again.
The bang.
So exclamation point is too long of a phrase for developers. So we've shortened it to bang. Because
What?
you can't say the word bang without imagining an exclamation point at the end of it.
I don't think that works, does it?
So does that work in SQL? It seems to. Hold on.
You can do that, and you can also do the two
There's the
less than or greater than next to each other. I think they both
That's that
work.
too. Yep, there you're right. There
what
is
are
that
those
one
called,
too.
actually.
What's that?
The less than greater than symbols.
Yeah, there's that
There-
too. So this is another type of not where it's not equal
Like,
to.
is
so
there a
use
shorter
this as
word
well.
for those? Like a name to refer to them by?
I've
Arrow
never used that
brackets?
before.
Yeah, the angle brackets. They're called angle brackets.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's actually multiple ways to do a not. So there's the not, and then you say the phrase that you want be not. You can also do the bang equals. Looks like that's there as well. And then there's also the greater than or less than value, which says not as well. Because if you're greater than 1 or less than 1, you're just saying, well, not 1. So there's multiple different ways to do it. And this also works for strings, actually, this variation here. I did see that before. So I did see this used on like strings and dates. So
It's an interesting one.
yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I didn't even think of it, and I wondered. I thought probably would. No, that wouldn't work on. That's what's interesting. Yeah, that's not available in other languages because you can't do a greater than and less than next to each other. So that's a SQL unique one, I think. I don't know. Not to say there isn't a language that might have that, but I'm not aware of one. Yeah, you have multiple different things you can use for that. So let's execute. And a really cool thing that we can also do is we can actually, let's say again, we don't actually know the user ID. Let's say we don't know the profile ID. Let's say we know the name of the person. Let's say we know the first name of the person because that's the only data we really have. Maybe we had another identifying item, but I'm going to say, you know what? I know the first name of the user. I don't know the profile ID name. I just know the first name of the profile. What's really interesting is I can do another select statement after the equal sign. I can do nested select statements and have the profile ID equal the result of a select statement. And so instead I can do select ID profiles where first name equals Cliff. And I goofed up again. The parentheses, hold on. I did this 2 seconds ago. And I had a goof there. Let me pull up my notes. Hold on. I knew I clicked with my notes and that would give me a problem. All right. Select star from post where profile ID equals select ID, right? From up. There it is. Got the from. Fix those all up. And do the parentheses back just because it looks nice. Oh, damn you. You don't have that shortcut. Put those parentheses back because it looks better. And you can see it will actually pull that ID from that select statement, return that back to this phrase, and then run that item instead after. So you can do nested select statements if you need to. So if you need to pull another information for another SQL script, you can actually do that. So let's say, for example, the biggest example here would let's be like, well, if we had the user ID. You had the user ID, well, we need to get the profile of that to get the profile ID. So that's actually a better one. Let's do that now. Can someone come up with the SQL script for that? You know what? Let's do a 5 minute.
What?
Let's do a 3-minute test. What I have right now is I want to find all the posts, and what I have available to me is the user ID of 1. So I want to get my post, but all we have is the user ID. Now, yes, I know that the user ID and profile ID currently are matching, but assume you were using UUIDs and they weren't matching. Or if we wanted to, I think, what the thing is, hold on. Would you start the automatic number field? Right, you know, let me do, that could be evil. That would be evil because I did these here. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that yet. I could actually set my auto increment to start at 100 by just doing this, I believe. Or no, that might increment by 100 actually. Oh no, let's start. Yeah, that's starting at 100 and it'll still all increment by 1. So I could do this to then make sure all my profile IDs are different. So that means this would then be 100, 101, and then 102. And just to prove that that actually worked, or quickly if I do this, this should have done it, right? Ah, you suck. Why do you not do what I want you to do? No, I have to do that.
So we start with the user ID, and then we need to get the profile ID, and then we need to get the post with that profile ID.
Correct. And you're going to do that in a single SQL statement is the idea.
Right.
Okay,
The idea.
done.
Give people a second. That still doesn't like me. All right, whatever. There is a way to make your auto increment start. I'm going to be back for a minute. I got to use the bathroom quick. So people take a chance at this. I'll be right back.
Oh, I get to type.
Okay.
Select.
You got this, Tom. I'll keep the original stuff up. You know, actually, let me go back to the original code we had so you have the reference. Hold on. Really? Oh, there it goes. Okay. Got that. And then what you have is you have actually the user ID. One. That's what you have. You have the user ID, and you want to be able to pull all the posts from user ID 1, but we know that the posts are connected to the profile ID. So we can connect, we should be able to map user ID to profile ID to post, but see if you can figure it out with a select statement. Go for it. Be right back.
Can someone reiterate the challenge for me?
All right, so we're supposed to get the posts from only being provided the user's ID.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got everything typed in on the left side. So, I know what somebody's already asked, but can somebody repeat it one more time? Because now maybe I can work.
Repeat what?
What we're trying to do. We're trying to
So given a specific user ID, you want to get all posts that user made.
post that user made. Okay. And you're only given the ID. Okay.
Yeah. So for now, just assume the user ID you're looking for is 1 or 2 or something.
think I got it. Oh, I did it.
Is anyone still working through it?
Yeah, I'm still working on it.
That was actually what I was just about to ask. I am back.
Hey, go.
Welcome back.
How are people doing? Anyone other than Tom? Anyone else still working on it? Did we get some responses?
I'm good to go.
So
what are you getting so far, Tom? Did you actually get it?
Well, I misunderstood it for a minute there. And I actually just selected from profile ID, which was easy. But then I realized it's actually the user ID, so I gotta rethink it.
So I was curious.
It got me all messed up.
Yeah. So I was curious. Did anyone actually use a join on this?
I
was thinking I had
messing around with it for the last couple of minutes.
I wasn't sure what content we were supposed to be returning, so I stuck with the select for this one.
So we're going to do select. We're going to do select from profile, join users on. Let's see. What was it? Profiles.user. I'm going to do some reshuffling of the items. So then move this down here. Then move our where down as well, because that's going to be at the end. So select ID, join users on profile.user ID equals users ID. From there, where, you know, when we usually do this, you usually have to prefix it with the database. So profiles, not first name. And just to be on the safe side, it's most likely the ID is going to get pulled from profiles, but always be safe. You can actually, I believe you can do this, profiles ID from there. So I do believe this works. So we're gonna pull the profiles ID from profiles joined on users where, and over here we're gonna change this to, I meant to do that. I think Scott was about to call me out on that. I heard the error where users.id equals, I'm gonna put the number 1 here. So I got that. That should be what I want, right? Select profiles ID, because we want the profile ID from profiles join users. On the profile you do the users ID, and we're going to select where the user ID is 1.
Actually, if I may, I think I found a very clean way to do this.
Go for it.
I found another way to do it too. That won't return their passwords.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, actually, if you could comment down 10 through 12, let's right below that.
I wanted to make that work. All right, weird that that's not working.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so if we use the join, we could still select from a specific table. And with this, we actually use the dot notation, but use the star wildcard to still grab everything. So if we use post dot star, we only get from the post table for the select.
All right.
And then we can pull from posts and left join the profiles. And we will join that on if profiles user ID equals 1.
That actually would be nice, yeah, because you can just, since we have the user ID, we actually don't have to access these. Damn it. I forgot that we don't actually have to go through the user table. So this was entirely unnecessary. So I can actually just, but again, we actually wanted to get the end result. We still want to get the actual profile data too, as well. We just don't want to get the user data. So I actually could do it.
Oh, we do want the profile data? I thought we just wanted the posts.
In that case, we could append it to the selection.
Oh, right. For the moment, we didn't. All right, we didn't want to do that yet. Sorry. So yeah, this is fine. This would be using a join. Because I wanted to show that we can actually get because right now we don't want the showcase on it. We actually run this so you can see it works, but yeah, totally works. Yep, there's that. But then we didn't even need to do that because we could also just do on this item here. So back to this, I literally just could have done, instead of profile ID equals select profile ID from profiles. User ID equals 1.
Yeah, that's what I did.
That was
I overcomplicated it.
Yeah.
Yep, I overcomplicated that.
But in the one on 10, you can't join the tables.
I probably could. I just gotta I gotta play around with it a little more. I actually didn't plan that one. I didn't practice it, so I'm missing something.
Okay.
But I am going to show you the next thing that I wanted to show, which was the joins again. And this is actually going to see a join. So if you remember correctly, the last time we did the join, we're going to do it the same here. So we're going to do select, and then we comment this one out. Star from posts. We're going to use the same join we did last time. That's the inner join we talked about. So join profiles on posts dot profile ID equals profiles dot ID. And so, because if you notice here, this is nice, but as we said before, on the main page of the post's website, we'll probably want to show the username of the person that actually posted this, right? And we don't have the name of the person that actually posted this. We only have their ID number, so I can't say posted by blank. If we had an avatar, we'd like to pull the avatar from the profile as well, maybe.
Well, I blame that on the client for specifying the problem there incorrectly.
Not quite. This is actually perfectly fine. For us, we're actually going to change it now. We can use the join to now see if I execute the SQL. We'll see that I now have those items. I have the first name and last name. Hey, now it did update. Why are you? I got rid of that. Wait. I get rid of that. I don't know why it's doing that to me now. All right, whatever.
That is weird.
Oh wait, I did that here. Never mind.
I did it manually.
I did it manually. That's gonna break my system later, so I gotta fix those back. That, there we go. That's accurate now. That's probably why that didn't work. My join was probably fine. I messed with my user ID numbers. Anyway. God dang it. I don't think I can undo back to that because I undid out of it. So yeah, that join command I did. So check the video later. Feel free to try it if you want. I actually think my join sentence would have worked. I just didn't, I forgot that I had changed these here to 100, 101, 102. And yet I was still doing the join on, I was doing where user ID equals 1. So that was a problem. So I think my select join did actually work. I just had bad values. Go me. Anyway, we got that, so that's fine. Go there, cool. There's that. So that's a normal join. We see we only get the post, and this is where the inner join works. The inner join will show any record that has both items matching. So note here that Tom isn't showing up because Tom doesn't actually have a post. Gabe does. However, if I do now, let's go ahead and just do the for now, let's do left join for a second. Let's see what left join does. Yep. If I click that, we see no change, right? Because again, this is still matching from the left items. It's only including items on the left. So it's going to say, no matter what, include all left items. We know that our posts always have a profile, right? There's no chance that a post doesn't have a profile connected to it. So left join isn't going to do anything special. It's kind of going to match the inner join because you can't have a post without a poster. But if we switch to the right now, we're saying we want to show all the right items as well. We want to show all the left items that have a right item and all the right items. So we're only going to show stuff on the left that have, we're only going to show posts that have a user, that have a profile and all the profiles. And again, one of the biggest ways I look at this, SQL join, these images right here are very, very useful to see. This image
I've got something weird going on here.
So the left and right, it only shows the records where both items have data. So if right data, if there's a record on the right that doesn't have a match on the left, it won't include it. And if there's an item on the left that doesn't have an item on the right, it won't include it. In our current system, all left items have a right item. That's why all of our left items show, even on the inner join. Every single left item does. Same with our left join. Our left join, this is kind of mimicking our inner join because again, every single post has a user. It's always going to show every post. Now on the right join here, we're saying show all right table items and then only the left table items that have a right table item. But that means we might include that might include people that don't have a left table connection. We can see that there's here that have a right table that don't have anything in the left table that they share. And so what's going to happen this time is we're going to see that Tom is going to suddenly pop in with no data here.
Oh, damn. I just lost my script.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was having this weird, I was doing the join table thing, and somehow, even though I was selecting only user number 1, it was still, so what it was giving me back was it was giving me your 2 posts on 2 rows, but on the second row with your second post, it's had Gabe's first name and last name, but now I've lost the data, so I can't replicate
I
that.
just posted in the Slack the SQL script we've been doing. So if anyone loses it, you can paste it back in. So the exact code.
Is full join the same as outer join?
Let me see if I can replicate my
Wait.
From that chart
Outer
you just
join.
showed us. Full join.
Full join.
Select.
Not quite. So full join would do the same thing where if there was a post that had no user attached to it, it would then show that post as well, and it would show these. So you would have both sides. The outer join really only benefits you if you have like a many-to-many record, and that's where you're going to see new behavior. That's when you see different behavior. The outer join is going to seem, the full join is going to seem similar to right now, because if you see it right here, we click it, it's going to see, oh wait, did you full join in MySQL? Hold on. I need to do the full join. I've actually never done a full join because I usually don't see the need for it. full outer join. So number 4. You see, you get the null there. What does it do? Full outer is the command, right? Okay.
Okay, I guess that was my question. Like, for inner joins, you can just type join. For full outer, can you just type outer?
I wonder. Let's find out. Outer join. Doesn't like it. Yeah, from that, full outer join on. Should work. Make sure I didn't break anything. Just do a normal join again. Oh, yeah, it goes like that. So why does it not like the full outer join then? Yeah, like that. So,
once I rewrote the statement, it worked. So I'm not sure what was causing the problem. What are we
hold on.
working on?
Are we sure this is MySQL actually? No, I'm not sure. No, it says MySQL.
What's the question about? What's confusing us?
Full outer join. I can't get the syntax for that.
Wouldn't it just be full join or outer join?
Tried both of them so far. None of them are actually working. Full join. Nope. Doesn't like it.
Quick check. Is inner join something? Maybe a regular join is just a full join.
Let's just join. Because I can tell you it's not a full join because we don't have any nulls. We're not getting Tom as well. So this is an inner join. When you do join by itself, it's inner. And if I remember correctly, inner actually I don't think even works. Oh no, it does. Okay, so inner works. I'm gonna have to look into this more because I've actually never needed to use the outer join, the full join, out join. It's not like the syntax. That's strange.
Okay, apparently, I guess, or I don't know. First reply I'm getting is that MySQL does not have full outer join, and you have to
union.
Select, yeah, you have to union the left join and the right join.
Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, that's annoying.
Oh,
all right, that's fine.
Only for cases where it wouldn't. For cases where there wouldn't be any duplicate rows, it gets more complex if there are.
Fun. So don't do outer joins and full joins in MySQL then. It's understand again the main difference that you would get between the two. The main thing that the outer join does is it does the left join and the right join together. So in this example, we wouldn't. This would be the full join on our example here would give us the same result as the right join, because again, all of our left items have something in the right. We have that connection. So everything on our left table has to be connected. So there is nothing here. This is blank on our current example. There's nothing in here. So our entire left table fits inside this little item here because you can't have a post without a connection to the user. However, profile. Where the profiles can be a non-poster. You can have a profile and never post. And so there can be an item sitting in this section here. This area is empty in our Venn diagram for our current setup. This is empty for our post system. This one over here has Tom in here. So Tom's in here under the profiles. Me and Gabe are in here because we have posts that we've posted. So me and Gabe are hiding in here. That's why our inner join and our left join in our example look the same, but our right join and full join look the same because, again, we didn't add anything new here. It included this section, but our certain example doesn't have anything here. That sound good, Michael?
Yeah, I was just confused with the terms. I think PostgreSQL lets you do outer joins.
I do believe that. I can definitely see that. I do believe they do that 100%. Yeah, again, the main thing to keep in mind here is that I don't like the way that it uses the circles because it kind of disconnects. It's more like a table. But the idea, again, that there are records that, how these work and what they're looking at here is you have one table, two table, and then the on is what we're putting in, is how we're crisscrossing them. We're crossing the two tables on top of each other via the on. And in here are any records where the left table and the right table have that equalness, that have that on matching. So they're in here. When we do just the join, we only want those records that are in this center item. We do just the join with the inner join, we only want records that actually match, that actually trigger this is true. That's why we only, in this one, we only see me and Gabe in our posts that we've done. So me and Gabe show up with our posts, and that's the only ones we get. With the left join, you include any records that match, but then any records that don't have any data there. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a null in the place because there's no profile data for that item there. So this was a post that didn't have a profile. Let's say the profile got deleted or something, but we kept the post record. What would happen is that, yeah, we would have that post would show up, but there would be no record. What I can do here is, if I wanted to have one of those, what I can do is take this out of the table posts, make that no longer not null, because that means I can do a post like this. The person posting it is null. I can't remember if it's capital or lower. Shoot, I want to say capital, I think. We'll try. We'll do that. We'll go ahead with saying I'm a ghost. And, ooh.
I'm a ghost. Beep, boop, beep.
Okay, hold on. Get rid of that for a second. Bring this back for a second, just to make sure that that post does exist. It's there. We see that the profile ID is null. So good. Capital no. Nice. I just want to see, does this error? Now I got to double check it now because I think it's, again, with SQL, it's usually either or. Yeah, good. Okay. So it's a SQL syntax. So again, we've talked about that before. SQL syntax doesn't have to be capitalized. It is capitalized to differentiate it from your fields. So we have that. If I put this back, we can see that again, our inner join doesn't include that post because again, the inner join. So now we have, let me do this. And there we go. And then start drawing. We got our two circles. Where's the circle? Here we are. There. Bing. That big enough that I can fit stuff in. And then, oh God. Grab.
It works. That's good.
I guess it works enough. It's fine enough. So the SQL one goes here. So SQL, that's my SQL post. My JavaScript post is here, my JS post, and we got our mainframe post in here from Gabe. So those are the three posts in there because they have both a post ID and a user ID. They have both items. So they have the two items together. They have a record in each one. Our ghost right now is hiding in here because it has no connection to the profile database. Profile database, there's no ghost profile, it's null. So there's no connection. Whereas Tom is over here in this part of the then because he has no posts. Tom hasn't posted anything yet. So that's why our inner join shows just these three posts. Our inner join shows the three posts here. If I switch to left now, if I switch this to the left join now, what's going to change here? You should have a theory in your head. Everyone think of it, have it. What do we think is going to change that now? Let's see. You see what changed? By doing the left join, we've now included, we've now changed it so that, can I actually do what I want to do? I wonder. I don't think I can. But we included, I wish I could do like a background color. We included this area in our inner join. Now we've added in this table as well. So we're getting all this area. The center's still there. So our SQL, My JS and my mainframe posts are still there, but now we've included Ghost as well. So the undo button, where'd that go? There we go. Now if we switch to the right join, we've seen this already, but again, what else is going to happen this time? So we know that the right join brings Tom in, but what else is going to change?
Ghost go away.
See, you're getting it, Tom. You got it. Yeah, Ghost goes away because now we've decided to include this side of our circle. Dang, add in the way. There you go. So we get this side of our table. So Ghost is excluded, but Tom and the 3 posts are included now, so we can see how that works. And if we did the full outer join, then when Ghost would pop up, we would still have the Tom row, but then the Ghost row would pop up. So full join would include that. So full join would include these 3 items, the Tom record and the Ghost record. And that's what full join would do, because then full join says, you know what, include all of this information. Did that help?
Yeah, that actually did.
Okay, good. Yay. So that's what you want to see when you're looking at your joins. Think about the data you have. There's the data that's connected, that exists in both tables that are connected to each other. Then there's the data in the 2 tables that are not connected to each other. And that's what the joins specify. A lot of times you'll end up just doing the inner join because you really only want those records that have the data that you want for the front end. We only want to do this because we want the first name, last name, and created on. Now, one thing I'm going to change though is I am going to change my select. I want the posts.id. I want the posts.profile ID. I'm okay with that. I want to be able to reference the person probably. Well, no, I don't need to actually reference the person. I don't need that. I need commas too. I want the title. I want the content. I want the first name. I think I can actually do this because these are unique, except for that one. That one I think I need the posts in, but these are all unique fields, so I can do these. First name and last name. That's the information I want. I don't need the post ID, the profile ID, or the profile user ID. The only reason why I'm doing post ID is because we have 2 IDs right now, if you noticed. There's an ID for the profile and there's an ID for the post. So I need to tell it I want the post's ID. So if I do this, this should work. Right? Yes. Good. We see I get the IDs of the post, I get my title of the item, I get my content, and I get the data of the user that I want. And this is the perfect result we would want for our front end, right? This creates the front end we want. This would be similar to you doing that posts.find with a projection on post ID, title, content, and then a populate on the profile item with first name and last name.
So
Mongo.
I was wondering about situations like this. So you just joined posts to profiles. Both of them have a .id field.
That's why I had to specify which ID I wanted.
Okay, so if you didn't specify, what do you get back? You just get back both IDs or what?
I believe so. No, it'll yell at you because it doesn't know which ID to do. It's going to have a conflict. Yep, it's ambiguous. See, column ID in field list is ambiguous. It doesn't know which one to do. So I have to tell this,
okay.
An ambiguous field, you have to specify which one.
And if you did select star, you get both? You get 2 ID columns?
Yes, if I did star, again, I can't do star here without doing everything, but if I did, remember before, if you were looking, when I had star here originally, we were getting 2 ID fields and I hit insert. Dang it. There we go.
You have to specify if you want.
See, we get ID here. This is the profile ID, and this is the post ID.
Yeah, I think that was what was causing my error before, and I just rewrote it in a way that didn't have it.
What were you saying, Gabe?
I was thinking maybe there's a way, if we wanted both IDs, like maybe there's more than just 2 unique fields. If we wanted like all the IDs without having to specify each collection.
I did look into seeing if there's a way to exclude tables. There is no way to do that in Java and SQL. If you want all but certain fields, you have to include the star and then do a drop column. That unfortunately tends to the result. You have to say the result in the drop column, which is not efficient because it means you pull the data and then you have to run another SQL query to drop that data.
Yeah.
So it's not effective. It's not efficient. The better item is just to, you have to be very specific with SQL, unfortunately.
That's okay. You just
Yeah,
add
unlike Mongo, I feel like that's why Mongo added in the ability for their projections to do include all but when you do just the zeros in your populate or your projection systems. So yeah, that's why I think Mongo added that capability, because they noticed that in SQL they can't do that. They can't say, I want everything but these 2 columns, and I have 10 columns, so why would I want to have to type out 8 fields when I only want to remove 2? And so I do believe that's why Mongo added in that capability for their projection system to say, well, project 0, and if that's the only thing I have are zeros, then include everything but these. But if I have 1s, then include only these. So that's why Mongo had that nice ability in there, because SQL doesn't. You have to tell it what you want. You can't tell it what you don't want. Sound good?
That makes sense.
Cool. Nice there. So there's our join. And then the last thing I'm going to just at least showcase, but I'm going to have you guys have fun with the join, because it's going to be your challenge of the weekend to learn a little bit more on SQL. Let's create one. Well, we're going to technically create 2 more tables, but it's for one more. It's only for one purpose. And now we're going to create the many to many. And my example here is going to be category. Categories can have multiple posts, and posts can have multiple categories, right? I could cover both. And hell, just the ones I did is both. This one is both SQL and coding or programming, and this one's both JavaScript and programming. So they would both have a similar at least two categories. Yours could be programming and hacking. And then over here we just have our ghost, which is supernatural. But our posts can have multiple categories, and at the same time, our categories can be attached to multiple posts. And so we might want to be able to search for all posts with a certain category, or we might want to be able to pull the category for all the categories on a single post. So those are some fun things we need to do. So let's go ahead and add that. So I'm going to do our create table categories.
You said we're creating 2 tables, but we're only creating 1, right?
At the moment, hold on, you'll see.
Oh, okay.
I did kind of give a hint of what we'll end up doing, but we're doing one feature, and you'll understand why we need the second table in a second.
Okay.
But first off, we're going to do an ID again. Same thing here. Category ID, and then the actual category. It's going to be a text. Actually, no, I'm going to do that as a varchar. 25 characters. I think we can fit all our potential category names in 25 characters. Probably less, but it's fine. We'll do that. So now we have our categories item. We do want to make sure that our categories can reference posts, but we need to make sure it can reference multiple. So this doesn't work. Post ID int 6 unsigned references posts ID. That doesn't really work because I'm only able to connect it to one, right? Now this category is only going to be connected to a single post ID. That's not going to work. So I can't do this. And I also can't do category ID.
It's like what I showed yesterday, right?
Yep, we're going to get to that. Yep. This is why I think that this is going to help people to understand a little better. They're going to see why we need that extra kit table and stuff. Int ID, unsigned, references, categories ID. Again, that might not work. That won't work either, because again, that means my post can only have one category that's connected to. This is again a one-to-many or many-to-one. It's one or the other. It's not the many-to-many yet. And the way we do this, the way we fix this in SQL is we have a table that tracks the connections. We have a table that links the two together. So it says, you know what, post ID 1 is connected to category 1, and post ID 1 is connected to category 2. So you have a row for each of those connections, each relationship.
I see.
What that looks like is we have the, go ahead.
This would be solved in Mongo by just saying, instead of like the post or the category of this post is so,
put
you
an
just
array.
have an array of it instead. Okay, that makes sense.
SQL doesn't do arrays, unfortunately. That's where the downside comes into play. If we did that, then yes, I could have posts take a category, take an array of categories, and I could have categories take an array of posts. But unfortunately, SQL doesn't do categories. It doesn't do arrays. So instead, our array or our collection, the only collection we have, we know we need to be able to store a collection of items. The only way to do that, as we know, in SQL is to create another table. Our table is our collections. And so we're going to do a create. And there's a couple different naming ways I've seen. I tend to do categories to posts.
Okay.
I'll do that way, and that tells me what the first column is and the second column is. So this first column would be the actually no, I'm going to switch that around because I'm going to name this usually. The first item is the first row, and the second item is the second row. And so I want to say, well, the posts are the categories, the categories the posts. How do I want to organize it? I'll let you guys actually decide that. So in our rows, do we want the first column to be the category ID or the first column to be the post ID?
I'm in class.
Oh. What do we think? Any votes?
I think the post ID should
I got a post ID, yeah.
Post will first. All right, we'll do posts
The category.
to categories. Now, what I have seen though, that the other thing I have seen that if you're someone that does do the camel case in most cases for your tables, I have seen someone do the underscore under here to show that connection. So this is the other common syntax I've seen. So if your other tables, the standard tables, you'll do camel case in these. You use snake case to do the connection table. The connecting table, you do the snake case. So we could get away with that for this. But those are what's that? Oh, it makes sense. So those are two of the ways I've seen this formatted. So I've seen it do it this way, where you have the underscore here to show the two are connected. I've seen the word to, because that's just another way people have done it. I hate this one, but I've seen this. I don't like this one because I feel like there needs to be something between them for me. That's my personal preference. I hate this one, so I actually don't even want to show it, but I will at least say that I've seen it. So for this one, I tend to prefer this one because I don't like having to type the word to, but that's just me. Which one do you guys want? Post to categories or post underscore categories?
Post underscore to underscore categories. No.
No. Too much typing.
I like post underscore categories because I use that in one of my projects.
All right, so Thomas likes post underscore.
That's the only reason.
So Thomas is liking snake case. What are we thinking, everyone else?
As well.
Liking snake case?
Snake case.
I feel like
I like having the word to in there, but
I don't. Oh, again, I don't mind the word to. It's just the idea that we're taking advantage of the fact that we don't necessarily use underscores in our table names. So we're using the underscore as a replacement of the word to. So we know that whenever we see the underscore in a table name, it represents the word to, kind of like how the at symbol represents the word at. It's again abbreviating a 2-character item, but it's the idea. So, people like a snake. I also like how everyone's saying snake case now instead of Pascal. Yay, I win.
I mean, Pascal case isn't that. Pascal case is how you name classes in JavaScript, right? With the it's like camel case, but with the first letter capital.
Title case.
First word is capitalized as well. Yeah.
That's just title case.
Yes, that's what Pascal case is.
Really?
It does not mean underscores.
Yeah, that's what Pascal is.
Really? Now, so I swear someone told me that snake case was Pascal case. I'm now annoyed.
They lied.
Really? Are you kidding me? That is title case. That is not camel case. That is title case. It's literally a thing in English. We just got rid of the spaces. I'm so disappointed. Why would we take a simple name like title case and just make it complicated with the word Pascal? I don't know.
Because Pascal case is what it was called first.
If you knew Pascal, you might know.
Pascal's okay. Wait, hold on.
I've never heard title case. Hold on.
Pascal is a coding language, titling the title of names and books and things. When you capitalize every letter of a word, that's title case.
But you in book titles you don't capitalize things like to or from or some other little words.
True. All right, fine. I'll give you that one. Fine, Pascal case. All right. I swear someone lied to me.
Someone
lied. Like an idiot. All right, great.
Yeah, you're not thinking that.
I think it. I'll admit it for 2 seconds and I'll get over it. It's all good. And like I've always said it before, you're only an idiot when you don't know things. As soon as you know things, you're no longer an idiot. So
we're all learning.
I've said it before. It's why I like teaching. You guys, every cohort, I learn something new. So it's great.
All right.
Someone will always pose. There's always someone that poses a question I have not heard yet, and I love it. So post categories. We have our item. We're going to use the underscore here. We're going to use our snake case for this because that underscore is going to represent our word to, like how the @ symbol does. So post categories. So our first item is just going to be the post ID. That's going to be our int 6, not 5, 6, unsigned, not null. Primary, not that. References. Going for posts ID. And here we also need our category ID. Yeah, int 6, unsigned. References, categories, ID. Save. Oop, not that. Just to see that the table was accepted, we'll do a select star from posts categories. Oh, right. I don't have a primary key, do I? Oh, wait, hold on. No, it's yelling at me for, oh, no semicolon. Good. So this was the next thing I did want to showcase, is that technically in SQL, you can actually have a table that does not have a primary key. Be aware then, though, you have nothing that uniquely identifies stuff, so it can make your searching for specific items a little difficult. But it is not required that you have a primary key. The primary key helps with indexing and helps with searching and querying. So primary keys are very useful for finding specific items. They are very, very useful items and are very much recommended, especially if anything's going to refer to it. So you're going to refer to it, you definitely want a primary key to help you out because you don't want ambiguity. On a many-to-many, we don't need that. We don't need any sort of primary key because we're never going to be referring to a record in the post categories item directly. We're using this is going to be useful for our joins. We're going to be using this to join our posts and our category tables together. That's the only time we're ever going to use this item, to help facilitate joining the two tables together, or to find the categories for a specific post. So let's add some items here to it. So be aware that yes, I just want to clarify quick, by the way. Well, first let's add the categories first, then I'll clarify what we're going to say. So categories, let's add some of those. So insert into categories. I'm going to do just the category. So this I can do a one-liner. Values. I'm going to go ahead with first programming. Add that one first. Let's go ahead and add. We'll do SQL for my for the one I did. We'll then add JavaScript as well. Add in hacking for Gabe's. And we'll even do the supernatural for Ghost. There you go. Dang it. So we have those. Let's go ahead and switch this to just categories now. See if we have those in there. Cool. So we have our categories. Now, the key thing that we have when making the post categories is that, yes, what this does in your system is that in order to do this, you actually need two insert statements now in order to create a post. Technically, if you want to make sure your posts actually have a category at the time of creation. You first have to insert the post, and then with that result, you then insert into the post categories table. So it requires two inserts. So do be aware of that. So we do first our post insert, and now we can go ahead and do our category insert over here. Go ahead and do insert into posts categories. Post ID, category ID, values. All right, so first one I'm gonna do is the one I did. So post 1 and category 1 programming. I'm also gonna do it again, same one, but I'm also gonna add in the SQL one as well. So enter into this with 1, 2. Now for Gabe's, Gabe has 2 and 1 and 2 and 2. See how that's going so far?
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing here, just to kind of visualize it a little bit, I don't know how I did that, erase, and let's make this bigger now. Can I just do a clear all, actually? Yeah, there we go. Yay. Do this, and that. And so again, we have my SQL post, we have the JavaScript post, we have the mainframe post, or the hacking post, we'll say actually now. Hacking. Hack, there we go. And our ghost. Great if I had a pen. Good boy. Fun. Hacking. There we go. That's good enough. Hack. And then over here we have our categories, our program, our SQL, our JavaScript, again, our hack category, and our supernatural, we'll just call it super item. And what we're doing here is we're taking my SQL post and we're connecting it to program and to SQL. We're taking my Java program and connecting it here and here. We take hack to program and to hacking, which I probably should have done different colors, but whatever now. And the ghost, we're just going to connect to super. Yeah, that probably would have been better if I did different colors. Let's do that. And there we go. Color red. JavaScript goes to programming and to JavaScript. And then blue hack goes to program and to hacking. I don't know why there's a gap there, but whatever. And then ghost will do yellow, goes straight to super. Natural. And so that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create this connection, and these lines are being represented by that connecting table. That's what that table is doing for us. It's creating a separate line, and that's why I wanted to do this, because I want to make sure it's clear that we're creating separate lines. Each row in our table is a line connecting one to the other. That's how that's working.
The only time you need a connecting table is for a many-to-many relationship.
Usually, yeah. That's the only one that I've ever come up with, so I've never needed one for any other reason. The many-to-many is when you need these. Could you do a one-to-many? I think it's possible you can use those, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not necessary. So from what I've done in my research, I've only ever seen this connecting table needed for a many-to-many relationship. So I know that
this, Cliff.
what I want to say is that there's like this many like triangle-based connection, and so you could have a connection table that is like triangle-based. So you have 3 items in each item, which is a bit crazy to me, but it is something that can be done. You can get very, very creative with your databases, so be aware of those things. But I wanted to show the basic starting points so that when you look into things, you have an idea of like, okay, this looks like something I've seen before. I know this has 3 ID fields, but it looks like a connecting thing, so it's probably a connector. How is this working now? So the idea is to kind of help expose you to some of the basic use cases so that you can start, when you see the other use cases, you have a starting point that you can gauge from. That's kind of the beginning. That's kind of how it goes. And that's a lot of times how I get into things. I usually learn enough to get a starting point, and then I look into things like, all right, what do I need to know in order to understand this? And then I dig in deeper to do that. Like I said before, there's no way I can teach everyone here everything about JavaScript, everything about Java, and everything about SQL. What I can do, though, is give you a strong cement foundation that then you can scaffold your own house on as you do more things. As you dig in deeper and as you learn more things, your house can get more and more complex and more fancy. But you have that strong base that allows you to then do that. If I don't give you a base, you're going to go try to do something new, and whatever you're going to try is just going to fall into the dirt, and fall into the mud, or fall over. It has no stability to base your research or base your experimentation on. There's nowhere solid for you to try things on. It's always going to fall. And yes, even with a strong foundation, some of the things you'll do, it'll fall right over. That's normal. No matter how strong the foundation is, there's just things you can't do. So when you try, it's going to fall over, and that's fine. That means it's not a good item. But as long as you have a foundation, if you're researching something that is valid, it should make sense. So that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, got this. Last one I'm going to do. Next one I'm going to do is the hacking. Oh wait, this one was not the hacking one. This one was the JavaScript. So that's right. Yeah, 1, 2. So 1, 1, 1, 2 for SQL, 1, 2, 1, and 2, 2 for the JavaScript one. This is Gabe's. It's going to be 3, 1 for programming, and 3, 3 for the hacking. And then the last one is going to be 4, 4 for our ghost. Okay, right? No, I got it wrong. Hold on. This one's supposed to be 3. That's supposed to be 4. And this is supposed to be 5. There we go. Right. SQL post to programming, SQL post to SQL, JavaScript post to programming, JavaScript post to JavaScript, hacking post to programming, hacking post to hacking, ghost to supernatural. Okay, we got it. All right, so if we pull the two items separately, we got our categories, we got ours. Now we can do a select star from, actually, let's do the, select star from posts. I'll clear that out for a second, just so you can see it again. So you see we have these, we have the stuff we need. What we need to do now, though, is make sure that we can get those categories. So we want to select from the posts and want to join the post item with our posts categories. I gotta find my notes again on this one. This one was the pain. Hold on. Make sure I type it right. 1 second. Did I type that out? Hold on, I lost it. I found it again. Okay, so what you might do here is actually give these names now, give these the abbreviation. So this is another thing you might see a lot of times. Personally, I don't always realize why we do it, but we're gonna give it, when we do a select from and we give a table name, we can actually do a second item here to abbreviate or to shorten that table name, as we're gonna say posts as P. And this is what it's saying. So P is now post from now on, and our post categories we'll do as PC. I'm gonna do on, and from here we're gonna do our, so we're gonna do a join on that. I'm gonna do on, and this is gonna be P dot ID with our PC equals PC dot posts ID, post ID, like that. Yeah, good. Keep that simple. And actually what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna move the joins to the next line to make it so we can see the joins one by one. And I'm also gonna adjust these. So these are not perfect yet. I just wanna show the starting point. So then I'm also gonna join our categories as C on PC dot category ID equals C dot ID. Right? Yes. Want to see what that looks? Let's look what that looks like for now. Let's start with that. Let's see what that looks like. You can see here we have our our SQL syntax item with our programming and our SQL item. We then have the JavaScript one with programming and JavaScript. We then have the hacking the mainframe with programming and hacking the mainframe with hacking and our supernatural. We have the items we want. We also have a lot of this extra data here, don't we? All of these things. What I also want to do here is just do a quick little item where I actually don't connect the ghost yet. I don't want to do that one yet. I don't want to connect that for just to show a quick example. So execute again. And why are you not working? Why are you still showing them as connected? They shouldn't be. Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. It should be gone. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So since we're doing the join right now, we only want to find posts that have a category. We're only going to look at categories that have a post, right? So we have that issue right now. We're only showing posts that have a category. We're only showing items, which is probably what we want, right? We don't want the categories that have it. So the join is definitely right. We don't want to do like a left only join. So now if I do a left join here, We'll see if we do the execute. Oh, it's not gonna work because that one's still not gonna work. If I do a right here, I think is what I want. I'm looking at to see. Is that another left? Looking to the left. All right, so that gives us the supernatural. Oop. I didn't want to do that. I meant to do right here as well. My bad, because yeah. No. I was trying to show some more fancy stuff, but really, what I wanted to showcase is that this is actually what we wanted, though. So this is what we actually wanted. This is the result we wanted. So, yeah, it's perfectly fine, actually. So we got our items. The main thing we want to do, of course, is kind of clean this up a little bit. We don't want all this information in our front end. We just want the IDs, the profiles, and then these items here. So, and really, we don't even need, like, so the one downside of this and that SQL has versus Mongo is this issue here. And this is where if you're gonna have a lot of many-to-many relationships, it may be beneficial to do the Mongo just for the querying. The queries in Mongo are a little simpler for this, but again, you still have to worry about that whole issue with the maximum document size. If your array that you're building in Mongo can go too big, then you have to deal with that database size. So your many-to-many relationships could still have a problem if any of your arrays have the potential to get too large. So you always have to consider that. Now again, Mongo has this idea of sharding. It is something they're handling, but it's advanced Mongo. So we'd be aware of that. So this is where you have to really discuss and decide what the best tool for the best job is. There's no one best situation. There's no, hey, SQL is best in all situations or Mongo is best in all situations. It doesn't work like that. So let's take a look at this. What we want to do here is we do want to clean up some of this data though. We do want the post ID. So let's clean this up. Let's do p.id. We do want that. We don't need the profile ID. We're fine there. We do want the title, and that's not ambiguous. We can just put title. Content is not ambiguous. We can just do content. We don't need the post ID because, oh wait, no wait. We did want the post ID. We don't need the post ID because we already have the post ID. This is this is our connecting database. So we don't need either one of these. We don't need those. We don't need the category ID. We just want the category itself possibly. So let's do that. We just want to do category. And then we can execute. I did not like that.
Is it because you're using that shortcut before you
Probably.
say that?
I think you're right. Forgot that it doesn't do that. No, it doesn't like that still.
Any commas in between or no?
Oh, thank you. Yep. And what's interesting is that SQL, yeah, just to show what Tom showed, SQL actually reads the entire line first and takes care of these kind of abbreviations before doing anything else. And so it actually doesn't run this here until everything after it runs.
Yeah, that makes
Once
sense.
it gets the results, it then justifies what it wants. So it actually does see this abbreviation first before it actually gets on. So that was one of the things that I found really fascinating. So thanks for the comments. Like, that should work. It's like, what did I do? So you see here now we have what we want. And again, this is something that you would have to then deal with in your front end. You would have to be very kind of careful with this and make sure that you're only touching each item once. Now there could be some server-side manipulation where you're then pulling out the categories based on the ID number, and maybe you don't need these. Maybe you're doing two SQL commands where you're doing the first one here, which we did here, which is the select. What was it? Where did I do it? It was this one. Yeah, this one. No, not that one. Is it? I think it actually was that one. Yeah, that one. Sorry. Got that. We'll get rid of this for a second. So we'll grab this command first. We'll get all of this data. And then what we would do probably on this one is only grab the post ID and the category. And then grab what did I goof up now? I have two select commands. Hold on. Comment that one out. Then we would run this. And now we can pair this ID, which is the post ID, to the ID on our previous SQL command. So we would probably run on our back end both SQL scripts. These two SQL scripts would get run first to get the profile data and then to get a data map. And this would give us a data map that would map our post ID to a category, so then we can go ahead and map those up. This one doesn't need the post data because we can pull the post data here and make sure we have that one-to-one. ID 1 title, 1 content. So that's one thing you could do. Is that the best? That's something you have to decide. Is it better to run a single query here and then make sure you're looping through that resulting array a bit different way? Or is it better to run 2 SQL scripts and then to just kind of merge those together? So that's something you have to figure out, is what's going to be better for your system, and you can definitely investigate that and research it. What's going to result in the least amount of processing? Is it going to be after SQLing or before SQLing? And those are things you want to look into. So there's a lot. That's one of the things that gets. That's why I'm trying to make sure that you don't get too deep into the databasing and just make simple decisions at first. Make decisions that are easier for you to worry about, because, yeah, and as I said before, SQL admin is actually, or DB admin is a job title itself. And database structure, database analyzing, making sure that your database is structured and organized and set up in a way that is the most efficient is a study all on its own. And that's another specialization route that someone can go down once you're already a developer. And a developer that becomes a database analysis can really apply some of their knowledge of what a developer needs into their database design structure. And so those can be really powerful DB admins. There are DB admins that have no programming background at all. They're fine. They'll usually just say, hey, what do you need? And I'll create it. They'll just ask the developer, what do you need from me? And I'll make sure that the database gives that to you in a efficient manner. What's the data you need? So there are, again, we don't want to get too deep into super fancy, super complex database stuff because you're not becoming database admins. But knowing some of these basic commands of how to do the many to many, the many to one, and the one to one, and how to do these joins are going to be key items here. See, they're not overly complicated. We just connected the posts to the categories first. That's our starting point because we went from left to right. We did the inner join because we only want posts that have a category. So we did the inner join, and then we connected those categories to the actual category table so we can get the actual name as well by doing another join on the result. And that's what's cool here is that what SQL does is it runs this first and creates a new table. Comment that line out for a second. Oh yeah, and just do star here, sorry. For a second, just to show what I'm trying to show, because category didn't exist yet. We do this execute. Why are you, oh. Nope, you don't like me, why? Oh, I did this. I gotta remember to comment out the other SQL lines. So this is what happens first. So it runs this first and ends up with this table. And now on this result, on this table, we're running the second join command. That's what actually happens. It creates this table first, and now we're gonna run this second join command saying, hey, connect this category ID that now exists to the categories ID on the categories table. And so we take this table, which is again, a table just like our post table was. Again, if we do this again, you look the very, very basic. This was our first start. So we got the select from post P. So post P came up like this. This is our P now, which sounds bad when I say that, but this is P. We then do the join, say, hey, take p.id and connect to the pc.postid. Connect those and add and merge that stuff together. And we get this script now. Now we get this table. So now we get this is a temp table in memory now. And then we say on that result, go ahead and again do a second join and add and combine them based on the PC category ID with the category ID. And then we get that one finally. It'll help to see how that takes that step by step and how that builds, right?
That's cool.
So, and that's something you can do. You can definitely build these kind of join things one by one to make sure that you're building each piece or each step of that script, that SQL command, line by line. Sound good? Hopefully this was helpful.
Definitely.
Yay. Yeah. All right. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to, I think you can actually, it says support free service. What? I wonder if you can save this for free. Anyway, I'm not going to do that though. I'm going to go ahead and grab all this. I'm going to put it in a couple SQL files and put it in our, I'm going to count, hold on, IntelliJ. Let's do this.
Oh my gosh.
What?
I just had this bug where I literally just left in a single comma at the end of a create table. And I shouldn't have left the comment in there. And I was like, what the heck?
Oh, geez.
But I got it, so that's what matters.
Yeah, I will say SQL definitely has some of those annoying items that you could just not really see at first. Uh-oh. Why?
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing, kind of like from
I might be
Java
crashing.
to Java.
Hold on. Poor computer's chugging right now. Okay, that was scary for a second there. Everything just wasn't responding to me. I was like, uh-oh. I thought I was going to lose all our stuff. All right, so over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new package. I'm going to stop recording. That's probably what's killing me. I don't need to record this part. So